Okay, our last chapter for the week is Welcome to Choom. Again, chapter questions. So it says, respond to the quote. We can be brave and scared at the same time. Do you agree with that? Why or why not? And then just a little reflection, like what do you do when you're scared? Like what kind of strategies do you have to help yourself when you're afraid? Then respond there. And then your comprehension question, just one. It says, who greets the human family? What is different about this scene from the scene in chapter 2's invitation? And then include specific details to show the feeling of the scene. Okay. You have vocabulary is a cappella, and then contribute, and then architecture. Okay? So here we go, chapter 4. Welcome to Choom. My butt doesn't fit in this seat, Isla complained. The government of Choom had sent an empty shuttle on autopilot to take the 4 of us down to the planet. It had 32 bucket seats in 8 rows, all made for real skinny Zuri and half as wide as normal human seats. Somehow we had to figure out how to sit in them to strap ourselves down for the entry into Choom's atmosphere. Nobody's butt fits, honey, Dad told Isla. Let's just make the best of it. I tried to straddle the dividing ridge between 2 seats, but it was too high and sharp. Then I tried to sit cockeyed with half my butt riding up on one side of the seat, but that made my back hurt. And balancing myself across 2 of the dividers hurt even more. The rest of my family was having the same problem. Dad finally solved it by having us fill the seat buckets with our extra clothing to raise them up to the level of the dividers. An extra set of clothing was my biggest perk as a member of the first human family to go to Choom. I didn't know how many owners of the light blue cotton shirt and navy pants with rolled up cuffs that had been through before me, but I was grateful none of them had spilled anything nasty enough to leave a stain. After I filled my bucket seat with a folded pile of my ragged khakis and grimy Giants jersey, I managed to strap myself in. Once I clicked the harness fastener, some kind of auto tightener kicked in, squeezing me against the seat so hard I could barely breathe. This thing's strangling me, Isla whined from a row behind me. How long is this trip going to take? I don't know, Isla. I've never made it before, Mom's voice replied, almost, but not quite, keeping the irritation out of her voice. Isla's attitude had gone through some major swings since we found out we'd been picked to go to Choom. At first, she didn't want to go at all. Then Mom explained that Isla was a big part about why the GC had chosen our family. We need your voice, Mom told her. When we were negotiating with them before we left Mars, the Zuri seemed very excited about our art forms, especially music. Having a human down there who could perform live could be huge in winning them over. But I don't have a guitar. We figured you could sing a cappella, Dad said. Okay. Isla screwed up her face. How many times have I told you I can't? Isla, think about the situation we're in. Mom didn't come right out and say the fate of the human race could depend on your singing. She didn't have to. Isla was difficult, but she wasn't stupid. I guess I could sing Home Sweet Home, she said, after she thought about it for a little while. That's perfect. Mom and Dad looked at each other. And maybe, Mom said in a gentle voice, you could rehearse a little up here before we leave. No, Isla shook her head. I don't need to rehearse. Isla, Dad told her, you have to rehearse. She never did, and I could tell it made my parents nervous. The plan was for Isla to sing Home Sweet Home right after Mom gave a welcome speech when we landed on Choom, and even though my sister swore her voice would be fine, nobody could really be sure without having heard her sing in 20 years. But Mom and Dad didn't push her. I think they were just glad to see her quit watching TV and get out of bed. In the day and a half before we left for Choom, Isla seemed more energetic and talkative than she had been since Earth. She even managed to make small talk with people, which she hadn't done in forever. At one point, I saw a chatty friend of Mom's put an excited hand on Isla's arm and crow, they're just going to love you down there. Once they hear that voice of yours, you'll be a bigger star than you were on Earth. My sister's eyes lit up like fireworks at the idea. I don't know about that, Isla replied, but the way she said it sounded more like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing, and now I have a reason for living again. It seemed like Isla wasn't half as excited about helping save the human race as she was about being the center of everybody's attention. I know that sounded horrible, so I kept it to myself. But she did make me wish that I had something useful to contribute instead of just being along for the ride. So if Mom's going to give a good big speech and Isla's going to sing, what are our jobs? I asked Dad. We just have to smile a lot, he told me. Our jobs are to be the happiest, friendliest, most fun to be around species of all times. So basically, we act like human golden retrievers. Dad grinned. Exactly like that. I thought it was funny enough to tell Naya, but she didn't react like I thought she would. That just makes me think about how there aren't any more golden retrievers, she said. Oh, geez, I'm sorry. We dropped the subject, but when the empty shuttle from Choom showed up and it was time to say goodbye, she hugged me and said, "Be a really good doggy for the aliens, okay?" I will. Rough, rough. Seriously, I really want to get off the ship. I know. It'll be awesome. I'll be so amazing. They'll all want to adopt me and give me treats and maybe put a bandana around my neck. She hugged me again. Good luck. Rough, rough. Then I got on the shuttle in a hurry because I was scared out of my mind, and I didn't want Naya to notice. The four of us fixed the too skinny seat problem, then watched as the last human from maintenance left the shuttle and sealed the airlock behind him with a hiss. How's everybody feeling? Dad asked from his seat next to Isla in the row behind me and Mom. Terrified, I said. We hadn't even started moving, and my stomach already felt like it was permanently stuck on the first big drop of a giant roller coaster. Mom reached out and took my hand. It's okay to be scared. We can be scared and brave at the same time. Why don't we all pray, Dad suggested, and we did. It helped a little. A moment later, the shuttle detached, and we watched the transport disappear from the right-hand windows. I was strapped in too tight to move, but once we were free of the transport's manufactured gravity, I could feel my hair start to float up. We're going to do great, Mom said. We're going to be our best selves, and they're all going to realize how awesome humans are. Nobody said anything for a minute after that. Then I heard Dad ask Isla, "Do you want to rehearse your song?" "No." "You sure? Just once?" "No, I'll be fine." We didn't spend long in zero gravity. 10 minutes later, we were roaring down through the upper atmosphere, the whole ship shuddering like it might fly apart. The G-forces were so bad that I thought my chest was going to crumple like a soda can. Then the G-forces weakened, the ride smoothed out, and a cloudy sky appeared through the small side windows. It's green, Isla said. The sky is green. Sure is, Dad agreed. But we can breathe the air, right? It's 25% oxygen. Not only can we breathe it, we're going to feel fantastic. Although the gravity will be a little heavier than we're used to. Can I unstrap my harness and look out the window, I asked. Wait until we land, Mom told me. It's too dangerous now. I stayed put and tried to crane my neck to get a better look out the side windows. We kept descending, and pretty soon we were low enough to see the ground. It was a single color of beige all the way to the horizon. Beige is kind of like a tan color. Rumpled with hundreds of perfectly shaped six-sided hills of varying heights. It took me a moment to realize those weren't hills. It was an endless city of buildings, all made in the exact same shape, with just a few scattered hexes of red to break up the dreary beige color. It was like looking at a planet-sized beehive. You know what they could use, Dad asked? Architecture. That's good for us, said Mom. We can give them architecture. We came to a brief stop in midair about 50 yards up. I could hear a whine like a busted air conditioner from somewhere below us. Then the shuttle began to descend. Halfway to the ground there was a sudden bzzzt, as loud as a thunderclap. Blue light flashed through the windows as all the hairs on my body stood on end. It felt like we'd been hit by lightning. What was that? I yelled. Before anybody could answer, the ship touched down. The blue light kept flashing outside, accompanied by the same crackling bzzzt, and the broken air conditioner whine was much louder. I looked out the left-hand window. We were on the tarmac of some kind of spaceport. 100 yards away, where the tarmac met the first row of low beige buildings, there was a massive greenish-brown cloud rising from the ground about 20 yards high. The air conditioner noise was coming from the giant cloud. The crackling buzz erupted again, and the cloud shimmered as a giant sheet of blue electricity appeared for an instant right in front of it. Isla ran to one of the left side windows, peering out at the sheet of blue electricity lit up again. "Oh my gosh," she yelled. "Those are aliens!" I got out of my harness and joined her at the window. She was right. The cloud was a living swarm of thousands of giant mosquito zuri, flying in midair and whining in their yee language. Dad looked out the window beside Isla. They're not aliens, he said. They live here. From now on, we're the aliens. I stared at the swarm of the zuri on the other side of the crackling on and off sheet of electricity. They were buzzing back and forth, jostling each other in a frenzy. When the sheet of electricity lit up again, I saw one of them shoot backward like they'd been electrocuted. Maybe it's an electric fence, Dad said. See how it lights up when they touch it? What are they yelling? I asked. We were turning on our translators when Mom called us to the other side of the ship. Come over here. There's a welcoming party. We went over to the right side of the ship and looked out. About 30 yards from us, there was a stage set up on the tarmac. Standing on it were 3 stick-skinny zuri, a giant marshmallow aurora, and a little green werewolf crick. They looked like they were waiting to begin our welcoming ceremony. A cluster of about 20 more zuri and a few crick were in front of the stage, all of them turned to face us. On either side of the small audience, standing in 2 lines that ran from the stage all the way to our shuttle, were a couple dozen zuri holding yard-long metal sticks with prongs at the end, 2 prongs on one end. The way they held those prong sticks reminded me of soldiers carrying weapons, but I knew the zuri were peaceful, so I figured they couldn't actually be weapons. My translator was on, but the swarm of zuri behind us were too far away for the app to pick up whatever they were yelling. A moment later, though, the shuttle speakers came to life with a yee-hee that the translator quickly converted, "Please exit the ship." The frame of the cabin door lit up in a glowing invitation. As we walked toward it, I tried to take a couple of deep breaths to calm myself down. Are we ready? Dad asked. Just remember, Mom told us, we're the kindest, friendliest, most peaceful species in the history of the universe. The handle on the door was blinking. Dad twisted it to open the airlock, and we took our first steps onto planet Choom. It was warm and humid, with the heavy smell of gasoline in the air. As I looked up at the green sky, I heard the electric crackle again, and when the blue light flashed, I realized it wasn't just a straight fence. It formed a giant dome that covered the whole tarmac, 30 yards high and a couple hundred yards across. The electric dome vanished for half a second and then lit up again with another bzzzt. The double rows of zuri holding their metal prongs were just a few feet away on either side, staring at us with their blank, compound eyes. As the 4 of us started to walk towards the stage, each zuri shifted their metal prong in their hands, pointing it at us as we passed. If they weren't soldiers training weapons on us, they were doing a really good imitation of soldiers training weapons on us. I hope nobody could tell I was practically shaking with fear. The swarm was behind us 100 yards away on the other side of the dome. Now that we were outside, the yells were distinct enough that my translator started to pick up a few stray words. Humans! Home! Planet! Humans! Up ahead, one of the zuri on the stage took a bendy-legged step forward and spoke into a small, hovering sphere that must have been a microphone, because his voice boomed out across the tarmac. Yay! The unified government of Choom welcomes the human to our planet. That was as far as he got, because as soon as he started to talk, the swarm's yells turned into screams. There was a bzzzt that didn't stop, and the dome lit up. Only this time it stayed lit. For a long, frightening second, the blue light shining on us from every direction nearly blinded me as the bzzzt drowned out everything else. Then the dome vanished, and the noise stopped. The whole electrical field had shut down. There was a split second of quiet. Everyone who was facing us, all the zuri, the handful of crick, and the lone aurora, looked up and drew their heads back in surprise. The 24 soldier-like zuri with the long metal prongs all took to the air, flying past us over our heads. As they did, the whole crowd in front of us turned and ran, or flew, away. I was staring at them in shock, wondering how the big blobby-looking aurora could run so fast, when Mom grabbed my arm. Get back to the ship, she screamed. I turned in the direction she was pulling me, and that's when I realized the swarm was coming for us. The whole seething cloud of thousands of Zuri was halfway across the tarmac, shrieking as they zoomed through the air straight at me. I stumbled as I ran for the shuttle, and I almost didn't get back in time. Half a second after Dad slammed the door shut behind me, the first wave of attackers hit the ship. And that is the end of Chapter 4. Chapter 5 is called, But Seriously, Please Go Away.